So the recent state of play, we got an announcement of a new Broken Lore game. If you're not familiar with the franchise, I wasn't. I found it recently when I was talking about a different game, and I was looking it up on Steam, and at the bottom it has, if you like this, you might like other games. And I discovered, this one. I was like, oh, that kind of looks interesting. And turns out that there was actually a franchise that I'd never heard of. But then a couple weeks later, now it's announced for PlayStation. Okay, very cool. The first one is going to be Broken Lore Unfollowed, which was announced earlier this year on PC, but with the state of play, it is announced that it is coming to PlayStation. But they also announced an entirely new game to the franchise, which is, this is the first time anybody's been hearing about it, and that is Broken Lore Ascend. So this is going to be the 5th game in the franchise. It's going to be the third, I think as it's described on Steam, the third main game. Apparently, the other 2 games got prequels, so there's going to be 3 main games and then 2 prequels for the other ones. But this is going to be the 5th one. They're all full games. It is a first-person psychological horror game. So basically, as you're going through, it's first-person, you're doing all your stuff, and then, as you slowly descend into madness, somewhat maybe Silent Hill style, then the world kind of falls away and things get weird, and, you have to address your fears and that sort of thing. And this game is going to be no different. So this game is Ascend. It's going to be, you are following Ren and Yui. I think you're playing as Ren, but don't quote me on that. You might be playing as Yui, because I'm not sure which one's which. But anyway, you're following Ren and Yui, and they are famous urban explorers. They're on their social media going places where they shouldn't, that sort of thing. And to up the ante, they plan to climb Elysium Tower, which is the tallest tower in Japan. So they're going to be climbing that and posting it all over their socials and whatnot. But the higher they go, the more everything starts to fall apart and becomes a bit of a nightmare because, and I hope if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Rokubi, which is a Japanese demon. You've probably seen it. It's like a woman, but her neck is really long like a snake. She begins to pursue them. But she's not only a physical threat, she is also the embodiment of their fear. And in this case, their fear is the fear of being forgotten, ordinary, invisible, or irrelevant. So these are social media stars, and they're like, oh my God, what happens if, people forget who I am? What happens if I fall out of popularity? So, they keep having to up the ante and do more and more and more dangerous things, because that's how it often goes in fame, right? If you're not doing the biggest thing, then, one-upping everybody else, then eventually people get bored of you and they move on to someone new. So that's their fear. And she is preying off of that and following them everywhere in this tower. So this one's going to be a little bit different from the other ones. The other ones, you're kind of exploring different places, maybe like a house or a subway or something like that. But in this one, because you're climbing a tower, it's going to be featuring free climbing mechanics. So you're going to be, jumping around and that sort of thing. Maybe a little bit of Mirror's Edge there. Not quite sure how deep they'll go into it. It has just been announced. We do only have a trailer. But it is on the Steam page that they do say that they are going to be having climbing mechanics and stealth, which there's probably not too much space to hide on a tower. But the example that they give is, you might Metal Gear Solid style hang from the ledge and shimmy while she walks over you or that sort of thing. So that's really, really cool. I haven't played any of the games in this series yet, so I can't quite comment on the gameplay, how it holds up. But it is, like I said, I did when I recently saw it, I was like, oh, this kind of looks like a great game for Halloween. Maybe I'll have to save these for next year. Not quite sure how long they are. Maybe I'll have to play multiple ones. We'll have to wait and see. But this does seem like a good contender for Halloween. It doesn't have a release date yet, so probably. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, it doesn't have a specific release date. It just says 2026. So maybe it'll be in time for Halloween, maybe not. If it's not, maybe I'll have to play one of the other ones. I believe Unfollow should probably be available by then because that one was announced earlier. So I would assume that one isn't. And if not, there are 3 other games that I can play on Steam, so I can just play on my PC instead of on my PS5, which is great. I can do that anyway. So yeah, looking forward to this. Looks really cool. It's been getting the series has been getting pretty good reviews, so may have to check it out. Anyway, again, the franchise is Broken Lore, and this game specifically is Broken Lore Ascend. So check it out. Coming to PS5 and PC.